My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. I'm only here to even a score. Whoa. My mind is set, my grind is set, my heart on ice is cold. We down right now, but did it before. Whoa. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up. See from here we going up. Made the call, I shown up. Now the game is sewn up. Say my name is blown up. We up, 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 we up.
What up, Night Nation? It's your boy Roger, and it's a celebratory week. We got a dub in October, and I'm excited. If you can't tell, the rest of the team is as well. Josh Lazar, make sure that you grab some text talks about all that goodness. In addition to that, remember, this is episode 107. We are the only podcast that features a former UCF national champion, a former UCF radio host, an ESPN analyst and hoops player, an infamous, yes, that's infamous rapper, our resident influencer, and IG star shooting the breeze talking UCF sports. Remember to like us and follow us on YouTube, IG, and check out the 70-plus teams. Yes, 70-plus teams and conferences on the College Huddle, Big 12 Huddle, and Fourth and Florida. Now, remember, folks, on that College Huddle, you'll be able to check out the other teams as well. So make sure you check that out. Big week this week. We get to talk about how the ears got clipped. So we'll talk a little bit about that. What led to our success? What did we see from this team? How much we should take from this win, given who the competition was. Then we'll talk a little bit about our bye week, I guess. I don't know. We'll review our score predictions, how we did, see how some of our viewers did, other UCF news. There's lots of it for this week. We'll talk a little UCF hoops. There's some hoops news coming up that we'll talk about. Fall ball has started for UCF baseball and softball. We had a whole heck of a lot of comments this week, so I'm excited to go through those with you. And then we'll talk about the other UCF sports that Alan and Trey and sometimes Andrew don't watch. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring the team to the stage. First up is Alan Levin. Welcome back, bro.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Let me see that hair flip.
I might have to change hats because I keep disappearing into the screen. So I'm like, where? Oh, there I am.
You're in trouble, man. We've got more viewers, subscribing, and they're picking up the clip at which they're subscribing. As a reminder, folks, at 1,000 subs, we're going to have our good friend Alan Levin cut his hair. So look out, Alan. Those locks, keep growing them a little bit longer so we can cut a little bit more. All right.
If I disappear on the screen, then I won't be able to.
Next on the stage, someone you all know and love. Last but not least, but always last, Josh Lazar. Welcome back, Josh Lazar. It's been a minute.
UCF took the pride, sent them home so teary-eyed. Scoreboard glowing black and gold. Lost by 32. You just got rolled.
Whoa! All right, I like that better than the rap. All right, I think some UCF fans can sing along to that one, and they don't even need any liquor. So that's awesome. That's pretty catchy. Thanks, Josh, and welcome back.
No problem. Finally got
guys.
to sing about something.
What's that?
I finally got to sing about something. I take off a couple weeks, and we actually win a game. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so week 8, UCF wins. We beat West Virginia Union for the first time ever in 5 tries. Our first win in October in the Big 12 Conference. A lot of firsts to go around with this. We improved to 4-3, so we are above 500 on the year. And we're now 1-3 in Big 12 play, which is good enough for another UCF 13th place. But we're tied with Colorado right now for 13th in the conference. But who cares, man? We got a dub, and we got that dub at home. And we looked good doing it offensively. Last week, we talked a lot about how our defense was dominant. They were dominant again in this game. But what we did see this week that we hadn't in the past is complete domination and scoring, even though we were outpacing our opponents cruising to a 45-13 win. And honestly, it could have been 55-0 if we're being blatantly honest here. Yeah. Crazy thing to me, we put up 578 yards of offense. 578 yards of offense. The last time I think I saw that much offense, I mean, there were a couple of Gus games that were that way, but it was pretty much when Scottfrost was here or Josh Heupel, right? The crazy stat, 5 of 16 on third downs. But let's start with our text talk first. Guys, I wanted to give you a second to pull your text talk up. Josh Lazar, do you have a text talk for us this week? Because Alan popped in here late.
Yeah, so I unfortunately couldn't go to the game even though I was in town because my wife wasn't doing well, so I had to take care of make sure she was okay, and my daughter was too. So what we did was we put on the TV, watched the game, cleaned up around the living room. It was great. And my text talk is first time since I felt this good by the fourth quarter since UNC, because I didn't have to pay as much attention to the game. I didn't have to sit, like, I just felt a little sigh of relief. We haven't had that too many times. We didn't have it in the Jack State game. We had some other okay, so maybe the FCS team, but it's been a year of just not knowing what's going on. And look, I was watching a Giants game where I felt good in the fourth quarter. You know how that happened. But this time I was just enjoying it. And the rest of the text talk was about how Davi got all that stuff called back so we could just score again. It was fun. So it was fun watching that game, amazingly enough.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun game, and it was fun not to have to worry. I mean, as fun it is as it is being in the Big 12 and having close games in the fourth quarter, which we've had for years now. It was kind of nice to take the quarter off, so to speak, and just enjoy it. You even saw the sidelines. There were some stills and video from the sidelines, and the guys just I think this was their big exhale that they needed after all this pressure and being close. And watching them on the sidelines, watching our team, they were enjoying the football again. And I think it comes at a great time because we're going into the bye week, and having that positive energy with not just a win, but a dominant win goes back and speaks to, and I think gives them the energy to go into the next stretch of the season, which, we're starting with Baylor. We've got plenty of time to get ready for. They're beatable. And, it's time to have that conversation again. We've been having it every week on whether we feel like this team will end up going to a bowl game. Alan says we're going to do it with 5 wins. I still think this team can get 6.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did. You said it. You said it was a 5-7 bowl team. When we asked, do you think that they're going to?
I said
bowl eligible?
You asked if do you think we're going to go to a bowl game? And I said I think we get 5 wins. So unless we become like one of those teams that get in with 5 wins, but
yeah, exactly.
It's all based on the numbers of like how many the amount of teams exceed or don't exceed the amount of bowl games that there actually are. So, but hey, I guess it could happen. I don't know how many out there are on average per year. That would be a good stat.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I think it certainly gave me a good feeling that we were a step closer because the offense was so dominant. Even though West Virginia was abjectly terrible, the question is, are they as good as UNC even? And good I use with air quotes there. But their defense was pretty atrocious, and we had our way with them for every quarter except for the second quarter. So Alan, what'd you have for your text talk for this week?
Mine wasn't a specific thing. It was I liked all the talk about, I personally am a fan of watching the backups play. I always enjoy that. There's not always the opportunity to see that unless it's a blowout or whatever the case may be. So when we were all kind of talking about Davi there at the end, and a couple of people mentioned he looks like little JRP or a little bit of KZ. So I kind of just enjoyed that conversation. And, obviously it's number 10. So a couple great QBs at that number. And he did a little pizzazz, a little flash there. And I enjoyed kind of having that conversation about him because we know the starters at 7 games into the season, but the backups, the third, the fourth string, you don't know too much about. So when you get to see him, it's kind of fun to talk about him.
Well, saw a lot of young guys this week, and speaking of young guys, the receivers, 12 different receivers caught a ball this week, which is tops our 11 receivers from last week. So we spread the ball around, and it was a little bit of a coming out party for some of them. Burke had that absolutely nasty. Did it make it on SportsCenter, that one-handed grab?
That was OB. I had a tweet about that looking like an OBJ style catch.
Oh, 100%. Completely extended, was able to bring it into the body and secure it before he hit the ground. I mean, that was Traquan Smith worthy, like circus kind of catch, right? So that was amazing. And the receivers helped. I mean, the receivers helped this week. The last few, there was only one play this entire game where I saw a receiver ran a wrong route, and he was supposed to sit down, and he kept going. And so, it was interesting because I saw that. Also, something I noticed, there's been this conversation about Cam versus TJ and all this other stuff. What I saw out of TJ, that I didn't see out of Cam, especially in the first quarter. If you watch the first quarter and the first parts of the second quarter, TJ was checking a lot of stuff at the line. Remember that after 15 seconds, after the clock gets to 15 seconds, the coach can no longer communicate with the quarterback. So any checks that are done at the line are done by the quarterback. And I saw TJ do that. I saw him check completely out of a play, audible the play, and it ended up being positive yardage for that as well. So what I saw was TJ was getting a little bit more comfortable in the scheme and, having a better command of it. And plus, with the receivers doing what they needed to do and actually holding on to the ball, not dropping them. DJ Black, I've noticed his targets have gone down to 0. And TJ threw an absolute dime of a ball on the second TD. So the first TD was good, but the second TD was great. Floated it. I think it went to Dahmerkamp for the first two TDs. And that second one, threw it right over the defender's head. Although, realistically speaking, these DBs were not as good as what we've seen. They were, however, West Virginia was dominant as far as turnovers were concerned coming into this game. This defense had a lot of interceptions, a lot of fumble recoveries, a lot of forced turnovers, and our offense handled it pretty well. But that pass, nice touch, just over the defender's head, right in his breadbasket, and in stride. That's the most important one. Last week, we saw a few of them that went flat. Guys were coming back. We were mad about the non-PI calls. But this week, those balls were exactly where they needed to be catchable in stride. And that's the most important part of it because you don't allow the defender to catch up if you've created some separation. What else were your impressions of the games, guys? And then we'll get into the stats a little bit and what that meant.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's interesting because you have those beginning 2 drives. It's 14-0, and then you feel like, well, okay, this feels good. They're not doing great, but they're not that bad. Maybe it's the offense kind of kicks it up and takes over, and we get one more score, and that was from West Virginia the whole game the whole first half. So there was part of me is like, we're doing great. I know it's not a team that's at their full potential. They have 15 different quarterbacks too. We are in the same problem and the same piece too. So we have these things going on. Both new coaches coming back to their places where they've coached before have been successful. A couple of times, I wish we would have, executed on 4th and 1s in the first half. But generally speaking, after they missed that field goal, after ridiculous amounts of, I don't want to get into the refs, stupid things, period. Us too, right? Making stupid plays, having stupid fouls, and missing that field goal. I was like, yeah, we're done. This is going to be it. And then we just pulled away in that third quarter. Another thing that we talked about in the podcast a little while back is that kind of like middle 8, like the end of the 4 minutes of the second half and the beginning of the 4 minutes of the third quarter. And we've had problems with that for a while. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen a couple of games. I've been out of town for a while. But this game with, I'd say the depleted West Virginia, we seemed to turn it on when we needed to. And for a significant amount of time, I've been that David Jackson has to be our quarterback. And from what I've seen from stats and what I've heard, Cam kind of balled out and as best as he could in Cincinnati, who's now a top 25 team. But this team just looks better when Taven Jackson's our quarterback. So
especially
I
a healthy one.
A healthy one. Yes, let's be fair. Healthy one. Yes. So there's that. Other things from the game. I love seeing multiple quarterbacks that aren't Cam and Jakuri come in. Right, Davi was great. It was energetic. It was like kind of sort of having a little bit of McKenzie around, not equal to. He's young, but the energy was good. I love seeing the 2s, the 3s, even like the 4s almost get in. It was just a really,
Well,
really,
we
really
had the
good game.
5s get in because we had a 5th string quarterback come in and throw an interception at the end, and I was mad for the defense for that one.
Yeah. Well, that's life. That's life. But I feel like overall, against a team who has a name, but this year they are a easily beatable team as we've seen because of injuries and other pieces, we executed and did the things we're supposed to do. And that's nice to see. And hopefully we get another week to get a little bit healthier and see what else goes on. We have a really hard rest of the schedule, minus one team, a Gundy-less team. But we have a pretty hard schedule the rest of the way, and it's going to be probably 2 or 3 ranked teams. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I still don't know if we've put together our best 4 quarters yet, and if we can, and the O-line can hold up, I think we're good. I think we're a pretty decent team for year 1 of Frost. So
all right, we definitely have not put together a full 4 quarters, at least offensively, for sure. That second quarter was abysmal. We started shooting ourselves in the foot again. So we kind of trailed off there, but we came out in the third quarter and we're moving the ball and we're able to score, right? The big thing for me for this game is just the ability to score. And I have a couple other things about what you said that I'll talk about too. But Alan, what about you? What were your impressions from the game overall?
Yeah, I mean, obviously overall very positive. I mean, I think, this felt a little bit similar to the UNC game, that you pretty much know that you're playing a really bad opponent, or an opponent that is clearly worse than you in all 3 phases of the game. They're very injured. I saw on the injury report, they had 2 running backs out, they had 2 quarterbacks out. So, it's any win, like you said, Roger, in the beginning, is a good win. Like, you'll take any win you can get, especially in conference, especially after a 3-game losing streak and being winless in the conference up to this point. So you're going to take that win. But, I think you do have to look at, like, all right, this team was depleted. They're one of the worst in the conference, but a 45-13 win on homecoming is great. I mean, for me, again, I think the defense could have, like I think you said, the defense could have pitched a shutout in this one. I mean, there was 2 turnovers that got West Virginia very close, got really positive field position. So I don't put that on the defense. I thought the short yardage thing was another takeaway. We had issues with those 4th and 1s where we couldn't get a yard again. And it, obviously was turnover.
Alan, let's pause there because Josh brought it up. That was one of my takeaways too. Let's explore that a little bit further, right? What do we think's going on there? I mean, honestly, the defensive line for West Virginia was not big. They didn't have a lot of weight behind that line. So some of the other lines that we faced were bigger teams. You look at the offensive line versus the defensive line. But why do you guys think that we're not able to get that half yard and 1 yard? And again, I'll bring something up that I brought up last week, and this was in my text talk as well. Why are we trying that 4th down situation over and over and over and over again? We aren't getting the push, right? Mm-hmm. Whether you blame Miles Montgomery, whether you blame the O-line, whatever it is that you're doing, Scottfrost, please, you've killed 2 drives now this last game against West Virginia, and that's why they were able to keep it close. Sweet baby Jesus, stop on the 4th and 1s and quit trying to force that. We're able to get 4th downs in every other situation. We were 2 from 4 for this one. Just stop with the half yard and 1 yard 4th downs. It's not working.
So yeah, I mean, to me, it's easy to blame Miles Montgomery. It's easy to blame the offensive line, but for me, yeah, I think the bigger blame is Frost calling the same play over. I mean, if you could throw 2 fourth quarter fourth down touchdowns that were 25 plus yards each time, then go away from the 1 yard run. I mean, I also think if you are going to stick with that, like go with the right personnel. Like Stacey Gage is 235 pounds.
He was
Bigger.
injured. He was injured.
I saw him walk off.
Yeah,
but in general, I'm saying he hadn't been injured up until this point. So like either use the right personnel or use a completely different play. And that's where I think we've gone wrong. Like the 1 yard up the gut, through the middle is not working. So we got to switch that up and do something else. Like we saw with the Tavon Jackson, running around and then he hits Dahmercan for an awesome touchdown. So, a little freelancing there, but it worked. So the 1 yarder's not though.
Yeah, I think it's like three things. One, Tavon Jackson's not allowed to run. I think just a naked bootleg is not going to happen right now. I don't think he's 100%, or they're so, we know what's behind right now. We know everyone's injured. They're not going to take the risk of running him unnecessarily and keeping him pocket passer ish and improviser, right? So I think problem one is that there is no threat for QB to run. Maybe we do a little wildcat or do something like that. Maybe Davi put something together that maybe that's an idea. I probably not, but so there's no threat from the QB. So that's problem one. Problem two, sometimes it's blocking. There's, I think if I remember correctly on the first one, like 2 or 3 people from the defensive line were in the backfield by the time the ball was handed off. You just can't do that. They're getting turned. There's something is wrong there. But the second one, and again, they know what's probably going to happen. They've never play action passed that into a fake or ran a tight end out or something. That hasn't, I think, happened since the last times I've been watching. But the last one wasn't even the O-line, or I think it was a scheme or fit. It was the right hand. I'm picturing in my head. It was the right hand side of West Virginia that came into the backfield. It wasn't like a DT or anything like that. It was whomever was off the ball to the right hand side just blew untouched into the backfield. How many times are you going to get 1 yard if someone is unblocked and has a clear path to whom, and it's a running play? That really doesn't happen a lot. So yeah, it's frustrating. And did it blow a bunch of momentum and gave up 7 points? Absolutely. Or had the propensity to give up 7 points, right? They still had a score on 40 yards in or whatever. But I feel like it's a mix of things. And I feel like if Tavon Jackson was a legit run threat, we get at least one of those because he'll pull, and I just don't think he's allowed to. So, yeah, but I'm with you.
I agree with you, Josh, on the quarterbacks playing it safe right now, right? Because you mentioned West Virginia having quarterbacks out. We had quarterbacks out too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Brown's out, Cam's out. We were down to Davi. Bringing him in, and he did well, right? He squirted around quite a bit, but let's be honest, that's not going to fly in as a starting quarterback role. That's like garbage time quarterback coming in, and I loved it for him. He was quick. I mean, that's the big takeaway that I had from him. Is he was extremely quick, but we're not going to do that. And even
you disappear when you look down, Alan.
Even you keep disappearing, but
when you put your head down, you disappear.
Right. I'm going to change my hat.
No, just turn it around. Just turn it around. There you go. All right, better. All right. So anyway, point is with Davi, he's not going to be your starting quarterback. If he's our starting quarterback, then we've got issues.
We win maybe one game. Maybe.
Right.
And it's not because of him, right? Like he's young and he's learning. And
it is because of him. He's small. Yeah. He's small. He's not, from what I saw, right? Like let's give him a year or two to bulk up. People were talking about, we were talking about, comparisons, right? So if he's going to run like that, he can't be 180 pounds, right? He's not going to be able to pull that kind of stuff. I know Milton was what he was, but Milton was special. I don't see arm angles. I don't see that. He's not Mackenzie Milton. He's good for what he was in there for, but he's also not going to be the QB sneak guy either at 187 pounds, right? So the other thing, was the refs you mentioned the refs, right? Again, the refs were terrible this week on both sides of calls, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That out of bounds, and it matters, right? They're doing it in situations that affect the game. Now, the outcome wasn't affected in this one, right? But they gave them that early touchdown based on that basically hand whiffing the shoulder pad of that player on his way out of bounds. And it was a terrible call. I swear the Big 12, I swear the Big 12 has it out for us in there. And then the other thing was we made West Virginia one-dimensional, right? So they had King out there first, and he was not a one-dimensional quarterback. He was a freshman, but we made him make mistakes, right? And we had takeaways. So what did that do? It made them put Khalil in there. We talked about him last week. Khalil is one-dimensional. He's kind of like Jakuri in that he's a 50% passer, and he can run. But what I liked about that was defensively, we made an adjustment. He was in there for the first series. He was moving the ball pretty effectively. We made the adjustment defensively, and we shut him down basically the rest of the game. So what I liked about that was it showed our coaching. Again, we've been telling you, all those folks that were talking about our defensive coordinator and how it was terrible that we were bringing him in and all that. He's proven that he's a good D coordinator, and our defense responds to what we're doing. So when you look at the stats, it's actually kind of interesting. West Virginia, it was kind of like us versus Cincinnati in a way, except no, I won't even
Not
say
really.
that. Because we out we
almost 3 times our amount of yards.
Yeah, exactly. So first downs, it was 19-21. So we only had 2 more first downs. However, what we had this week that we didn't have in previous weeks was the yards per pass was 8.1. In the losses that we had, it was 3 and 4 yards, right? So 8.1 is pretty elite. Anything above
and
7
rushing yards too.
Well, even beyond the rushing yards. When we're talking about average yards, we'll get to the rushing. But I want to point out the passing because when it comes to the passing, we've been averaging 3 or 4 yards per attempt, right? In the games that we lost. We had 40 attempts in this game again, right? And 35 rushing attempts. So we still played 75 plays. It's not near the 90 to 100 that we're used to with previous Scottfrost offenses, right? But we were 26 out of 40 and we were 8 yards per attempt. And when we go and look at the PFF scores, the PFF rating for TJ was through the roof on this game. They were 4 of 18 for third downs. We were 5 of 16. So they only got 4 third downs the whole game. 2 for 4, both of us. Total yards, 210 yards. We held West Virginia to 210 total yards.
Yeah.
With a time of possession that was almost equivalent to ours, right? So it was 26:53 to 33:07. This defense, folks, this is one of the best defenses we've had in a long time. So enjoy this defense because they're playing really, really good football. Our total yards, 578. Their yards per attempt, 2.8. So obviously we made them one-dimensional by getting their other quarterback in, and we feasted off of that. Rushing yards, to Alan's point, 131 rushing yards for them. Even though their attempts, they had 49 attempts. They averaged 2.7 yards per attempt. 50 times they tried to rush. And they had 2.7 yards per attempt. That is elite. Granted, we could stack the box just like Cincinnati did or Kansas State did to us in the second half of that game. So that helped. Our per attempt average was 7.3. We had 35 rushing attempts. Now, we had some big gainers. The difference between this game and previous games is we were better in the red zone this game, but we had a lot more explosive plays that went for touchdowns. The 2 passing touchdowns, and we had Nixon in there with a full head of steam doing his thing as well. And the difference between him and Montgomery, to me, is the breakaway speed afterwards, right? And that Miles Montgomery goes down after the first tackle. So let's talk a little bit about the Miles Montgomery versus Nixon debate, because that's kind of been raging after this game too. What do you guys think? Should it be Miles Montgomery, or has Nixon done enough to be RB1?
I don't think Nixon's had enough like carries in any one game. It's like, his, yards per carry numbers are ridiculous, but like you think about the NCAA game, it was like, all right, he had 4 carries. And a lot of these games he's had 10 or less carries. Miles Montgomery is getting the lion's share of the carries. So it's hard to know, like, all right, if you put, and I know Jaden and Miles are different players, but if you put Jaden in Miles' shoes in terms of him getting the lion's share of the carries, I don't know that he would be doing that much better than Miles, because the O-line is still the O-line. Yeah, he may break some ones off, but Miles has broken some ones off too. A lot of the, big plays we've seen have just been Miles or Jaden getting creative and getting yards after tackle and just taking it to the house or taking it for 30, 40 yards. So I don't know, though, if he was a 3-down back getting it, all the time, that he's going to do that much better with this offensive line. But I do think he's a little bit more explosive than Miles Montgomery in a few different ways. So I don't know that they need to reverse the amount of carries you're getting, but I think it needs to be a little bit more of a split backfield. I think you have 2 really dynamic runners, and we've seen Frost figure this out. I mean, there's been time, like, when you think of the years that we had McCray, Otis, and AK on the same team, they all kind of served different roles and were different types of backs, and he made it work. He made it work with those 3 and Bentavious Thompson, who was the bigger, back. So there's ways to make it work. I do think, though, regardless of what happens with Miles, I think Jaden does need more carries, though, because his, ability to yards after tackle, his ability to just take it to the house has just proven to be better at this point, although he does have less of a workload, and, he's not, using as much energy as in the game as Miles, who sometimes is getting 2, 3, 4, 5 carries in a single drive, where Jaden is not really getting that.
Josh, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, not really. It's I guess you have Miles as a captain of the team, right?
Yeah.
And he's been around for a while. He knows how to do all pieces of being a running back. I was actually, I don't know, I was talking to someone about this. I was talking to the 7-year-olds. No, they're 9-year-olds. That twins who are watching football, and we were watching Michigan game when I was visiting them, and they're talking about the best running back of all time, and I was saying, well, Barry Sanders, yeah, Jim Brown, they don't know who that is, but they're Detroit Lions fans. I'm like, there's a difference between the best runner and the best running back.
Yeah.
Nixon might be the best runner. Miles may be the best running person at the running back position when it comes to all, pass catching, blocking, and running. So I think that actually has some things, might be why Miles is there. I don't think Nixon gets the shot this year unless Miles gets hurt. That's my opinion.
So whether he will get in or not, that's a whole different question. Okay, so I'm gonna, to all those points you just made, a few things that I took from, we'll just look at this as a microcosm of this game, and then we'll look at it from a broader perspective, right? So, when it comes to this game, if you take away Jaden Nixon, he had an 83-yard TD. Obviously, we were excited, right? His average, if you just look at the stat sheet, is 16.6. We know that's bloviated, right? But it's truly 5.5 per carry if you're looking at that, right? Miles Montgomery, he had 14 for 88, average 6.3 if you're looking at the stat sheet. If you take his long out, which was 39 yards, then that average goes to 3.5 yards per attempt, right? So to me, I do think what I see out of Miles Montgomery is it takes him a little bit. He has good vision when he gets there, but it takes him a bit to do that. I think Jaden Nixon sees the hole better. And again, Jaden Nixon was a 4-star running back, folks. I don't know if you guys remember this, but he was recruited and taken by OSU. He was sitting behind a certain certain running back that we embarrassed at the space game at home at OSU that was supposed to be a Heisman winner, and then RJ Harvey outshone the following year, right? You've got that. As far as blocking, actually, PFF traditionally, Nixon does better at that, right? So he does better at blocking. He does better at the yards per attempt if you look at it over time. Yeah. He's got the big playability with the speed. So to me, yes, I agree, Mark. Mark says Miles' 2 blocks got Nixon his first TD. Keeping both in can help the run game with either shifting the receiver mode. Agreed, 100%. The receiving, as far as receiving stats for the year, Nixon has better receiving stats than what Miles Montgomery does. So again, if you look at the matrix that you were looking at there, Josh, the matrix says that Nixon should be the RB1. Now, I don't know what they're seeing. The problem with Miles Montgomery is he tends to go down after the first tackle, and it takes him a while. He gets better throughout the game, but it takes him a while to get the right vision there. And I agree with you, Mark. He got Nixon gave him two blocks, the 21 sets and the 2-back sets. When I talked about this all year, if you've been watching, and I know, Mark, you have been, but not everybody who is viewing has been. The 2-back sets for Scottfrost are the most successful running sets that he had when he was here the first time around. So I do think, and I like the idea of having two running backs in. I do think Scott wants to make sure that he doesn't give as many touches to RB2 as he does RB1 to keep their legs fresh, right? Because he's going to want them in the third and fourth quarter as they wear him down. But ultimately, I do think right now with the body of work that's been presented, I don't know why Nixon isn't RB1, other than Miles Montgomery is the leader of the team and a captain.
I think that's a really big point, because I know we used to kind of make fun of or have problems with Gus when we said he was really loyal to certain guys. But and I know Miles isn't a Frost recruit and Jaden Nixon is, but if you go back to the preseason press conferences and even going into like week 1 or 2, there's a couple quotes where Frost really gushes over Miles Montgomery. He says, "I'm so thankful to have him on this team. Like, he's a leader, he's a captain." So I do feel like he does feel a little bit of loyalty to him and keeping him there. Whether that's right or wrong, it feels like when like you said, you look at the body of the work, not to say that Miles hasn't earned playing time or anything. Of course, he should be playing. He's still a dynamic playmaker, but I do think a little bit of that, if you just listen to Frost's quotes, how he talks about him, it does feel like he wants to continue giving him opportunities, and he deserves them. But I think we all agree that Nixon should be playing a little bit more.
All right. Mark says Frost also uses receivers on runs each game. 100%. They were absolutely terrible, according to PFF, in this game, as far as no block, no rock, right? That being said, the other thing that I think about when I think about this is, and we're talking about playing favorites, what about Paul Rubelt? Since Paul Rubelt has gone out, the left tackle position has been performing a lot better than what has been happening. What do you guys think? Do you think Rubelt should be out, or what do you think?
I think it's still a small sample size. No, he's only been out 1.5 games.
Yeah, but Owen Spell has done a really, really good job. This week he was PFF rated him as a 72, and that side of the line has been a lot more has let fewer people through, even when he went in the game last week. So as much as I love the 7-foot German, right? Me being German, and his holler box. Yeah, his holler box commercials, right? Other than that, what do we think about that?
Whatever it takes to keep the QBs clean. Period. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I was about to say, Mark, I vividly remember Nixon way whiffed on the block that got Cam crushed. Like, it was not even close. because I remember that play vividly too, because I sit in the cabana and Nixon was like, I was staring at Nixon going, and yeah, but still, whatever it takes to keep the QBs clean, because we need to keep them healthy. So if I'd like to see the Baylor game first, perhaps, because the sample size is definitely a team that wasn't as good this game, right? But whatever it takes to keep the QBs clean, and if it means you have to, if Rubelt rotates in, do it. That's all that matters. Keep them
Alan,
clean.
any thoughts on that?
I think, I mean, first of all, I don't know if I agree with UCF has been rotating consistently now. If you even look at, just the PFF, like they've been rotating in about 9 different offensive linemen. If you compare that to our previous like O-line coaches over the last 4 or 5 years, like they're pretty set on their 5. Like it's just not, O-line is not like defensive ends where you keep rotating them in and out. So I don't think having 9 rotated in and out helps with consistency. And I know there's been a lot of injuries, and I know quarterback's been a revolving door and all that, but like I mean, yeah, whatever it takes to protect the quarterback. But there was a stat that came out. I know there's more elements than just this, but the UCF pass rushing, we give up, like, as far as time that protecting the quarterback, it was like something over like a little over 5 seconds, which was like 4th best in the country in the pass rush. And I'm not saying that's all Rubelt or anything, but we know, we've said it a million times, the run blocking is the main issue. So I don't know. I mean, if Owen Spell keeps this up, maybe you flip them in the starting lineup. But with how this first 7 games have gone, and they're rotating this amount, it's hard for me to see Rubelt not playing in some capacity. So yeah, but whatever helps the team win.
Let me put it to you this way. Owen Spell this game, 61.8 on run blocking, right? Rubelt is usually around the 40s when it comes to run blocking.
Yeah, so run blocking is our biggest issue. So yeah, it's hard to disagree with
100%.
that.
So I think for me, I think it's time to rotate Rubelt in when he's healthy, but he's not the starter, in my opinion. And Owen Spell has next year too. So getting him these snaps, there's an advantage there too. Mark brings up another point. He says West Virginia guy, random West Virginia guy. I don't know, Mark, how many teeth he had, but West Virginia guy mentioned that they had 22 blitzes but 0 sacks. 100% agree. On the offensive side of the ball, when we're passing, we've done a pretty good job all year giving our quarterbacks time. Cam, the problem with Cam for me and how he doesn't help the offensive line out is he takes way too long to make a decision. TJ has been late on his reads, and part of that is on the receivers, but he's better than what Cam is. So as far as the passing game is concerned, both of them, the fact that we're giving them 5 seconds each time tells me that we're taking too long to make a decision on getting the ball out. It should be 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds max for them to get the ball out based on if the plays are working. So if we are averaging somewhere over 5, that's great for the offensive line, but it's terrible, for the decision making and how fast these QBs are making the decisions and getting the ball out. So going back to the original thought, though, I think Rubelt should be the backup in the rotation as well. As far as penalties, since we mentioned those, we had 7 for 70, so par for the course. We've been averaging 6, and we already talked about the time of possession. As far as QBR, Taven Jackson was 23 of 34, which is a solid 8.1 yard average, 2 TDs, 1 interception. That 1 interception was him. Then you had Brock Hansel, who threw that 1 interception late. That really shouldn't have been an interception. Nobody throws that. If we had a more experienced quarterback there. Davi averaged 6 yards per catch, or per rush, which I like because he not only ran, but he was so quick. He was outrunning the defense, to be honest with you. I mean, his burst was pretty quick. Now let's talk a little bit about the receivers. We've been maligning the receivers the whole time. Damerkamp had a great game, 5 for 89 yards, 17.8 yard average, 2 TDs. Caleb Rawlerson, we haven't really talked about him very much.
Or Damerkamp.
Well, Damerkamp for sure, but he's had more opportunities. He had 2 for 59 yards, so 29.5 yard average, which is crazy. Dwayne Thomas Jr., I think people defensively are definitely keeping an eye on him. He only had 4 receptions for 44. And then Wade and Charles, 3 for 40. Dylan Wade, 3 for 33. He seems to be getting he was a weapon early. He seems to be getting his groove back again. And then Marcus Burke with that it's 1 catch for 17 yards, but man, what a catch. Like, what a catch. As far as defense, let's talk a little bit about the defense. Kozlowski, again, and it helps with him as a middle linebacker when they're one-dimensional when it comes to that, right? But 11 total tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 1 TFL. Kelly had a great game. 8 total, 5 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 TFLs. John Walker got in there with the sack this game as well. Malachi Lawrence had 2 sacks and 2 TFLs. Yeah, and Derek LeBlanc. And what I like that we're seeing more of Derek LeBlanc, he's one of the young guys. Last 2 games, we've been seeing more of him, and he's been playing really well. He had 1 sack and 1.5 TFLs as well. So, defense, I mean, what I liked about the defense this game, what I like about the defense this year, let's start there. 1, we're maintaining the edges. Last year, I don't know how many times I freaking said it. We lost the edges. We lost the edges. We lost the edges. There was that one series where they brought Khalil in, where he got loose basically because they overran their lanes. Mark says best game for defensive end, 4 sacks in the first quarter, knockout of the game. Their 7th QB this season. He was on crutches. Yep, 100%. This I don't know if I've ever seen in any college football season. You guys tell me because you've been fans for a long time. Have combined quarterbacks between ours getting knocked out and opposing offenses getting their QBs knocked out. Have you ever seen so many quarterbacks knocked out? I think the total's like 11 or 12 quarterbacks have been knocked out in games that we've played this year.
That is crazy.
It's horrible. Both crazy and horrible. Like you want to have your full regiment of people, players working and playing. You hate to see injuries, even on other teams. I really don't like seeing injuries for anyone. And
oh man, did you see Tommy C?
Oh no, I didn't. I haven't been paying attention other than they have been losing a lot.
Yeah, no, it was like 2 minutes left. They were driving. He was running the ball. He was sliding, and one of the Stanford players had a helmet to helmet and completely knocked him out. So
it's a violent sport. We all get that. I just hate seeing it. And here's the thing. It's not like we have like turf in MetLife Stadium where everyone's almost afraid to play in it. We have a pretty nice grass game on the field and a great grounds crew. It's just weird. It is just weird, and it sucks. And
I have seen more lower body injuries this year than I have in past years, and we just replaced the turf with a new type of grass. So that is an interesting thing for me as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's not turf. It's still grass, but it's a different like.
Well, yeah. We replaced the turf with new grass.
Yeah.
Turf grass with new turf grass.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. It's a different strain, which is more durable and whatever. But I have seen more lower body injuries this year. And
in fairness, like 3 of the injuries were against the FCS squad where we just dominated them.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. Mark says this too. If you want to know if the quarterback is the most important position on the field, look at Texas Tech this past week. And Lee Hunter was upset. Mark also says
Punching
UCF.
Nad.
He didn't punch him. He just pushed him
Nah,
away.
he's shoving Nad. Fine,
Yeah.
fine.
Mark also says UCF now leads the Big 12 in pass defense and number 2 in total yards surrendered. This was going to be the strength of the team. We said this all year long. The line and the DBs. That was going to be. Bellamy is continuing to kill it this year. As far as that's concerned, he had three total tackles, 3 solos. He's been really, really, really good this year. Damari Henderson has been playing better, starting to show out like what we expected him to be. In this game, he had 6 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, he had 6 tackles, 5 solos, and 1 pass defended. Jaden McDonald came in, younger guy came in. He had a pass defended, and Troy Ford Jr. Made a little bit of his presence known as well. This defense altogether, they can get after it. What the big piece of all of this is we can't get behind in football games. And that's the challenge that we've had. And then going back to how that plays into the quarterback comment, how that plays into UCF's season thus far. I mean, we've legitimately had now 6 quarterbacks play this season in the number of games that we've had, right? Now, one of them was garbage time or whatever, but Davi was the backup, so he legitimately played. Cam was a starter for the first game, got knocked out. Taven got knocked out. Jakuri got knocked out. We've had no consistency, but I think Taven, if anybody's questioning, and we'll go into the listener comments on Listener Love and talk about that a little bit too. If anybody's questioning whether Taven Jackson is the quarterback for this team and to lead this team, I give you Exhibit C, because I think this is the 3rd game that he's really showed out what we're capable of. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, one other point, what I think that we need to talk about, and I know it's easy to say this when like 90% of the team is transfers, but Scottfrost and his staff really hit on these transfers. Like, I know we've talked up in the past years, like Gus Malzahn, like all these amazing transfers, but like Scottfrost really hit on like most of the transfers. I know, those are going to be the guys that are going to play because most of the team is at, but if you think about like high-level playmakers are on this team, some of them with like multiple years still left. And when you talk about guys like Philip Dunham and Lewis Carter and Cole Kozlowski, like these are guys that aren't just doing good because they're playing and there's no other option. Like they're playing really good. Horace Lockett before he got injured, RJ Jackson, like he really hit, especially on defense, on the defensive side of the ball, really, really hit on these transfers and got some guys that are going to be here if they stay for multiple years and be really, really good playmakers. So I thought that was a really like a breath of fresh air. I mean, there was a couple guys that, when we signed them, we were like, oh, that they're big names, but for the most part, like these were pretty much unheralded guys. Like they may came from big schools, but they weren't playing that much. And here they've done really good. If you look at pretty much all 3 levels on defense, he really hit on those transfers.
Well, I mean, Horace Lockett was great at Georgia Tech. I mean, that was
like there's some guys like that, but a lot of these guys weren't like massive names,
Well, yeah, I mean, Kozlowski is one of them, right? He was playing. I mean, when he was being recruited, he was good, but our linebacker play has been much improved. But how much of this is Grinch and how much of it was Scottfrost, and then secondarily, I feel like what we're seeing is a good defensive coach put his players in good position.
That too.
I think it absolutely is a difference that Grinch is the defensive coordinator, and he had a lot of success. And I'll bring this up again because I brought this up before. Trey has said he knows some of the guys and the coaches that were on that USC team that he was leading, etc. Those guys were getting paid and they were not doing what they were being told. So I honestly think Gus had some of that too. I don't know how much of that was by his style. Some of it was, but some of it was also the fact that we live in a different era of football where these guys are getting paid over $1 million in some positions. And I think that's part of it. So I think this is Grinch just being who he is, a good defensive coordinator. And I think we are reaping the benefits of that as well. Mark also said Taven showed that he's more effective when not under center. He doesn't need to waste the time dropping back and gets time to get through his progressions instead. Agree with that. The only time he should be under center is when we're doing something where we're trying to do like a goal line type situation or something like that. Other than that,
fourth and one.
Well, sorry, I said goal line, not 4th and 1. If it's 4th and 5, we might get it. If it's 4th and 1, we're right. So
yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think a shotgun type of situation just gives him more time for the play to develop and for the receivers. Yeah. So, okay. So what do we take from this? Like how much do we take from this? Because West Virginia, I mean, legitimately, if you watch them, they're a bad football team. And by the way, shout out to West Virginia fans. A lot of them had a lot of good things to say about their experience at UCF. And they took to Twitter and everywhere else saying, that they had a great experience at UCF. But shout out for being vocal about that. I know West Virginia is a proud fan base. They have a ton of alumni here in Central Florida. So I expected them to be well represented. But, shout out to them as well. But how much do you take from this? Is this just a byproduct of West Virginia being a terrible team? Or, did we actually show that growth that we were looking for?
No, I think a 45-13 win is a 45-13 win at the end of the day against a conference opponent. I mean, we're not playing, Temple and ECU anymore, right? I mean, West Virginia is down as they may be right now. It was still a big win in my opinion. Our first ever, program win against them. And yeah, of course, part of it is that they're very bad. Like, would UCF do this against BYU? I don't think so. But it was still I think a really quality victory. And Roger, to your point earlier that we haven't necessarily played our best game for all 4 quarters, I agree with that. And Frost said that being said, he said this was our most complete game of the year to date. So that does show growth to me. I think they didn't fix all of their issues. Obviously, we saw things like we talked about, like the short yardage and all that, but getting Taven back was great. Like you said, Owen Spell played really good at the left tackle position. The defense continued to play lights out despite having some big injuries. Horace Lockett, we didn't even, Sincere Edwards, who, a couple of days before the game showed a picture of him in a boot and in a wheelchair with a boot. So, despite the injuries and all that, I think, this team showed growth, had more explosive plays on offense. And of course, some of this is a byproduct of West Virginia being very, very bad. But you talk about a team that, like, we were in a position, after essentially blowing 2 out of the 3 games, or maybe even all 3 of them, if you want to look at it, like where we could have potentially won all 3 of those games, to bounce back, show fight, not fold, and essentially get a must win if you want to keep your bowl hopes alive. There's, like Josh said earlier, the schedule going forward is not too easy. So West Virginia, of all the teams, being at home, being arguably the worst team in the conference, you had to get it. To go out and do it in that fashion and do some really cool things like those 2 fourth down touchdown throws, things like that, I think really did show growth of this team. I don't think that means they're going to win out or anything like that, but I love the fact that they had to get this win to really keep your season alive in terms of bowl. And they went out and did it and didn't fold. And Scottfrost has been very adamant about telling the media, like, there's no quit in this team. I think he's making up fake storylines. I don't think anyone's ever said that about this team specifically, but I like it to go out there and kind of defend that, even though it wasn't something that needed defending, but it just proves that, this team is going to fight. They're not going to give up. And to go out and get a must-win victory on homecoming, it was great to see. And I think it did show a little bit of growth, but you can't overlook the fact that West Virginia is on a 4 or 5 game losing streak and down to their 4th string quarterback or whatever it is.
How do you feel as a Pitt fan losing their conference or their rivalry game?
Yeah.
I'm about to say West Virginia is not that great, but they won the backyard brawl, and Pitt only lost to them and to Louisville, who's kind of a good team, right? So it's a really interesting, like, what West Virginia, like, if they were in full strength, do they lose all these games, right? Who knows? I can tell you from the UCF perspective, full strength UCF the entire year has at least one, if not two more wins. So
if Taven Jackson, and I know there's a lot of Cam lovers out there, but
yeah.
if it was Taven Jackson at Cincinnati, I think we win that game.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, look, the thing, my biggest takeaway from this, regardless of what West Virginia is or is not, right? And they're not a great team this year. And I would argue that OSU is worse, but we'll see that later on in the season. What I took from this game is less about the defense, because West Virginia defense, for our defense, we were able to feast because they were one-dimensional. I mean, they could not throw the football and they were behind. What I took away was the receivers caught the ball. They weren't dropping passes. Taven seems to have found a rhythm, and he's not overthrowing people. He dropped a couple of really, really pretty passes in there. It gave us a lot of confidence. So for me, I think the running game, when we have the passing game going, it opens up the rush lanes for us. It allows Nixon to find holes, right? It allows Miles Montgomery to find some holes because they're not stacking the box. So for me, watching the offensive passing game succeed and flourish, and watching Taven Jackson make reads, make adjustments, and get the ball where it needs to go, and anticipating some of these throws. If you noticed our earlier games against good competition, those receivers were not where they were supposed to be. We were throwing the ball where Taven thought they were going to be, because you have to pass the ball before to anticipate where the ball is going to be for the receiver to be there, right? And I think that part of that is also why Taven and even Cam waited a little bit longer for routes to develop, because you didn't know what the receivers were going to be doing. So I think the timing is better. Taven has figured out a little bit better. He's had the arm where to get the ball and when to get the ball, to be able to do the checks and even audible to understand the offense well enough and understand where the hole is going to be before. Because really, when you're a quarterback, if you're reading the defense right, unless they've disguised it really, really well, you've got two places to go, right? Depending on what the defense does, because you're always going to have a mismatch there. So at the end of the day, I like seeing that. So for me, the growth was in the offense. The growth was being able to connect with more passes. The growth was on the wide receivers being where they were supposed to be. And the growth was seeing Taven Jackson make those checks and be able to have a soft enough touch to get the ball where it needed to be, so these players could get to it and they didn't have to come back for the ball, or it wasn't thrown over their heads. So, and plus, dude, that one pass where he was on a rollout and he was scrambling and he was like, okay, I can either get the 10 yards or I can throw the touchdown. And he threw the touchdown across his body. That was a great pass. So I do think this is growth. I don't think we should get overly hyped, but I do think this is growth on the offensive side of the ball, and they needed it going into this bye week. So excited about that. Plus, we can get a little bit healthier. All right. Last thing that I'll ask for this. What do you guys think UCF should work on as far as the bye week is concerned?
Finding some more offensive line. No, honestly, truth be told, I think it's getting people healed up. The injuries that are seen and unseen. Getting everyone as healed up as you can within a season playing football. I think some of the questions you were talking about earlier, Roger, figuring out if we have any change in the lineup, or is there a quicker trigger to rotate, say, Nixon and Montgomery? Like, those type of things might be intriguing. Seeing if you have another backup quarterback, right? Knowing what the staff is. But I really think the defense is doing pretty darn good. The offense needs to do better when it's against better competition, when the passing lanes are a lot tighter and whatnot. But they're seeing success. I really think the best, maybe it's better play calling. Maybe it's the small little things you can do in season to make sure when we go against this bigger competition that we have similar offensive success and just keep people healed up. I don't think there's anything wrong with this defense for the most part. And the offense, when they're healthy, are doing pretty decent. So, yeah.
All right. Mark says we're averaging 450 yards of offense. I'll have a comment on that for the off season. Is that? Yep. And that's exactly where I was going with it.
Yes.
That's exactly
where we're going.
All right. I might as well say it now. Alan, I was going to go to you,
Yeah.
but I might as well say it now. So the big things for me is red zone, right? That's
Touchdown.
where we've not been able to score. Getting touchdowns in the red zone, right? So that's the big thing for me to work on, for them to work on for me. Installs. One thing Scottfrost said is they weren't able to get a lot of installs in because they were throwing this team together last minute. So they weren't able to get a lot of installs. So this is an opportunity for us to put new installs in. Now that they've played, they've got our plays, they've got more practices in. So I expect Scottfrost to install some more of the offense in this bye week. And that should help. Also, hopefully, we're doing some new installs on the red zone because we've been kind of vanilla on some of our plays. We've seen a few things sprinkled in here or there each week that's new, but offensively, a lot of our plays have been vanilla. So I'm hoping to see that. So for me, I want them obviously to get healed up. I want them to work on red zone specifically, and I want them to get more installs in that will help us for the rest of the season. Alan, what do you have that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys said, there's not really much to add. I mean, I don't know if you can necessarily work on this, but, they got to continue to get turnovers. I mean, we saw in the last 2 conference games before West Virginia, they didn't produce a single turnover. I mean, it's such a difference. I mean, even when this game was still fairly close, that fumble 6 from Kelly Lawson really changed the complexion of the game and pretty much put it out of reach for West Virginia. So I don't know if it's, being a little bit I've obviously not viewed as, zero complaints about Grinch's defense, but if there's a way to, be a little more aggressive, make sure to really assist that offense, because we're going to have some tougher games. And I think the defense carries this team, obviously, and, turnovers are so big for us. So if we can find a way to, get some more picks, get some more fumbles, something there, that would be awesome. I know it's some of that situational, and, you can't really control that always, but I know there's, getting the guys in the position to be able to do that.
Yeah, for me, I think when it comes to what you're speaking about there on the turnovers, it isn't for lack of trying. In the DB room, some of our more aggressive DBs are out, right? So I think that does hurt. But we had some blown plays. I don't know, honestly. We were expecting so much from Antoine Jackson. He's still been playing terrible. But outside of that, every single, I don't know if you've got, when you watch the game, they're trying to punch the ball out pretty much every single game. And they finally got one to pop loose. We've also forced fumbles, but we have not recovered fumbles. They've bounced the wrong way. Pretty much every game we've had 1 to 2 fumbles that we've created, but we haven't been able to pounce on them, right? Last week in Cincinnati, Sorsby was an example of that, right? So I think defensively, you are seeing them trying to force them. You're seeing them trying to punch at the ball. Technique-wise, we've been pretty solid tackling, but what I've noticed is the first guy there was punching the ball. He was tackling, getting one arm around, and they were trying to punch. And that's where having the rest of your teammates, one of the things we've been talking about consistently on the defense that we've been doing a good job is getting hats to the football. And so having an understanding and having that complementary part of the defense and making sure that you're punching the ball out and having those guys, having the trust that there's going to be guys to back you up in case they get loose or something happens with the tackle because you're going for the ball. I think we've done a good job. We just need a few more to go our way. So Mark says to force more opponents into passing situations and getting early leads to force opponents to be one-dimensional. Yes. But that means we got to score. To your point, we're averaging 450 yards of offense, but we weren't scoring as if we were averaging 450 yards of offense, right? So I think that's the big thing there. As far as PFF is concerned, the offense had the best offensive score of the year. And that includes our FCS opponents, etc. They had 72.9. Also, defensively, we had our second best defensive score of the year. NCA&T was the first one at 87.4. So, we did well against North Carolina, etc. But we really, really, really killed it this week at 87.4. And remember, anything over 60 is considered great to elite. And if you look at the overall defensive grades, I have to get all the way down to Troy Ford Jr., which literally there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on here that are not above a 60. And most of them are above a 68. So this defense played really, really well. Antoine Jackson, unfortunately, not one of those. All of our defensive ends played really well. Lawrence and Kelly, 71 and 80. Derek LeBlanc on defensive tackle, 69.6. He's really coming into his own. And remember, LeBlanc is a younger guy that we were expecting a lot out of. We fought for him to get him to, I think he actually went committed somewhere else, and we got him to flip back over here. I'm really excited about that as well. And they're doing it out without their big man, which is our GT transfer who's out. So linebackers, 4 out of 5 were above a 73. So that's phenomenal. You only had Troy Ford Jr. that was below that. I mean, you're talking about Lewis Carter, 73.2, Kelly Lawson, 77.1, Jaden McDonald, 77.6, and Cole Kozlowski, 82.1. You've got linebackers that scoring like that. Linebacker has been, and we've talked about it before this season, linebacker has been a bugaboo for UCF football for probably since Tatum Bethune and those guys left.
Yeah.
Honestly. So, having that level of linebacker play has been awesome. Our safeties as well. So again, this is against a bad offense, but it's still success. Taven Jackson, 87.5 grade. 87.5 grade this year. Or this game. Chris Domerkamp, 87. And again, same way with the offense. I have to get down all the way down to the last 6 players, except for QB Brock Hansel. Poor guy. Finally gets in, and he's like 27.8. And agreed. Here's the thing about the linebackers, and Mark says best linebackers in years. 100% agree. Oops, sorry about that, Mark. 100% agree. What I like about our linebackers are they're a good mix of speed, because we had some slow linebackers before that were good against the rushing attack, but not against, tight ends or folks like that. Speed, size, and they do really, really good reads. They scrape the line well. They change, and the communication on the defensive side of the ball is the best that it's been in years. If you watch what they're doing, as far as their signaling, their movement, whether it be the line, whether it be the linebackers, or whether it be the D-backs, they are absolutely killing it. This defense is extremely good. So, okay, let's move off the PFF. This was really, really good. There's UCF goes into the bye this week, so we got a W against the bye. So the keys of the game is just do some more installs, please. Let's talk about our score predictions real quick and how we did. Obviously, we won't have one this week, but we'll have one next week. We did have Mark. You've been slacking, bro, on your score predictions. You were doing that for a few weeks, and then been slacking. But Deborah checked in this week on the comments on YouTube, and she had a 10-24 UCF or 24-10 UCF. So for our score predictions, remember, it ended up 45-13. Ben was 31-10, so he's our big winner this week. He was off 17 points. I had 28-17, so I was off 20. Trey had 30-20, so he was off by 22. And Deborah brought up the end of the trade here with 24-10 and 24 points off. So Yes, Mark, I was calling you out. Mark says best tackling in years 2. West Virginia media was complaining about all the missed tackles on their side. Yep. And he said he predicted 35-10 on their sites. Well, you weren't on ours, man, so I couldn't count you this week. So I'm calling you out. Both you and Tim. Tim's been lacking too. So, all right, other UCF news. UCF has landed its first commit of the 2027 class, 3-star QB Logan Flaherty, depending on which site you're looking at, as 3 or 4-star. Now, Alan, I wanted to ask you this. Our big recruit for next year, because we did have another recruit on campus for this game. Our big QB recruit from this year that's from Arkansas. Are you hearing anything about him going somewhere else? Because I'm starting to hear some noise around that.
Yeah, there's some whispers of him going elsewhere. Obviously you never know in this day and age, but I mean, there's a reason that obviously Frost has got 2 quarterbacks in the 2026 class that are committed right now. On top of that, obviously we're looking, at another quarterback for the 2026 class, which would mean 3, which, that would be for an obvious reason. And then, it's not super rare to.
We're not pulling 3 quarterbacks onto this roster. Just
correct.
So
and then when you look at that, then you're going to sign a 2027, in theory, recruit. It doesn't look good, but we'll see. I mean, Flaherty's a good pickup. He plays at Port Charlotte. They're 7-1 right now, and they're favored to go to states. I believe they're in 4A. He's having a monster year. He's like dual threat. He looks like a perfect Scottfrost quarterback recruit. Pretty, well-regarded recruit, has quite a lot of offers already. It's so far away still, so who knows? I mean, but it is curious that we're, back-to-back classes, going for QBs, which is not super rare, but, 6'2", 185 pounds. He already has offers from FSU, UF, and Miami, so he's very well regarded. He's a top 30 player in the state of Florida, a top 300 player nationally. So yeah, I mean, he's pretty much a 4-star recruit any way you look at it.
And Kane Archer, for the audience, Kane Archer was who I was referencing. As
correct. Yeah, we'll see if we can hold on to Kane Archer. I think we're all looking to him to be the savior. We'll see, but there's a reason that Frost is looking at other quarterbacks. Kane Archer has a lot of offers, and I know the pull of going to the University of Arkansas is there. And with Pittman getting fired and they're bringing a new coach, who knows if that coach kind of turns the tide in terms of him being able to go after and ultimately land Kane Archer. But I still think with Frost, Frost has got another good QB in the class, and picking up Flaherty, although it's 2 years out and he's the first commit of the 2027 class. I mean, this guy's been killing it. He had a monster sophomore year. He's having a great junior season, and Port Charlotte, normally not, I mean, they're a decent program, but he's taking them kind of new heights. They look like they're going to go to states back-to-back years. And, he's already got a ton of offers, and he's, it's not like he's under the radar in Florida. Like I said, Florida State, and Miami all have already given him offers. So it was a big pickup, but it's early. There's not many times when you see guys 2 years out that end up not flipping or something. So this is kind of like whatever in this day, but got to report it.
Yeah, I will say this too. Mark's point as far as recruiting is concerned is important too, right? So, Mike Norvell basically got a stay of execution today. I think a big reason for that was they couldn't afford it. It would have cost them $100 million to. FSU has been almost, and the Cows have been terrible on contract management when it comes to this stuff. They owed Jimbo. They were like, the athletic department was bad there. Then they owed Jimbo, and then they had Taggart, and now this. So, I will say this: there is, to Mark's point, there's going to be a ton of talent between Billy Napier's firing this week, Norvell. Norvell's not going to be fired.
Well, I'm saying if he gets fired, yeah.
If he would have, he's not going to. They already came out and said they're going to
You
support
don't
him.
have the money to fire him. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So I think there's going to be some Florida players that are available there. And depending on who they are able to bring in, and I don't think they're going to attract a very good coach, you know, I think that will help us with Scott being in his second year back in Central Florida, the Central Florida area. So UCF also honored new Hall of Famers during the West Virginia game. Ben went to that. He'll speak to it. He was going to talk about it tonight, but something came up, so he'll talk about it next week. He got some great pictures. So congratulations to Mike Sims Walker, Alex Haynes, Cornell Green, Dexter Lyons. He unfortunately no longer has a fro. Was disappointed at seeing that. Ariel Scott for track and field, Miriam Metzges Ochoa for volleyball. And the cool thing about it was there was a lot of former players that were back there, including a certain Dante Culpepper, who was on campus as well and was at the football game. Yeah, and Alan. Yeah, Alan, you met a few of those guys at the box, didn't you? Did you not?
Yeah, so my guy, shout out to Rashad Kazi, former UCF DB. You know, he's my neighbor, we're good friends now, and he brought me up to the suite. Dante was there, did not get to talk with him, but Rashad played with Shaquem, so he introduced me to Shaquem. So I talked to Shaquem for like 5 minutes. I mean, just how he is like publicly and like on Instagram, like is exactly how he is in person. Like super nice guy, was like willing to chat, and you know, we're just talking a little bit about the 17 team and you know what he's up to now. So super nice, super cool guy, and it was good to see, you know, that our UCF legends are, you know, coming to the games and still supporting the squad.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Dante doesn't like the limelight very much. You know, otherwise, I think he would be much other than his much maligned burger attempt on the university board. You know, other than that, I think he would be more celebrated if he was around more because everybody loves Dante. That being said, I do think that you know, we'll get a few of those folks on the show here coming up soon for interviews and things like that. Ben spent some time with them as well. A lot of the former basketball players were there supporting those folks as well. So it was just an all-around good event. Congratulations. There's some big names there. Mike Sims Walker. I mean, the man, one thing that people forget, he was there with Braden Marshall, but didn't Braden Marshall played defense, but
Brandon Marshall.
Or Brandon Marshall. I don't know why I said Braden. Brandon, Brandon played on defense, as did Mike Sims Walker. Both of them played both sides of the field. So, you know, both of them were big names. I mean, Mike Sims Walker did big things at Jacksonville for a really long time. So, you know, we have some pretty big names here, and it's fun to start seeing them come back and get celebrated at UCF as they deserve. All right. The defensive line, since we were talking about the defense so much this week, defensive line was named the Big 12 line of the week. I didn't know we did a line of the week, but apparently we do. And so congratulations to them.
Yeah, Big 12 on Instagram, they post like they have a offensive and defensive line of the week, and they have a couple other awards. I don't know if they're like official, but it comes from the official Big 12 Instagram. So even UCF reposted it. So I don't know what it means in terms of, I don't think it's like a national media type of thing, but it's something the Big 12 kind of honors.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that TNT broadcast real quick.
That was good.
Oh my gosh. Sky Cam, like we had cameras on the pylons, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know, the production value was good. The guys knew the teams pretty well. You know, just the camera angles, they did the crowd noise right. You know, so at the end of the day, I really, and I don't know if you guys watched the pregame show that they did, and they did a postgame show. I mean, the production value on that was really, really good. Nixon was on the postgame. He was hilarious. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. But the broadcast was excellent. I don't know. Did you guys want to add anything to that?
unfortunately, well, I was at the game, so I didn't get to watch it. But the reason I put it in the show notes is everyone on X, Twitter, whatever was UCF fans were all talking about how good it was, and I know as a fan base we've complained pretty heavily about ESPN Plus broadcasts and other FS1 wherever else we've been. So it was a nice refresher to kind of hear that everyone was so fond of it. I honestly didn't even realize that TNT did college football. Like I think I've when I'm watching games sometimes each week when UCF game is over on by, like I'll see it's on TNT, but it kind of never put two and two together. The weird thing was on my on the ESPN app where it shows you the channel, it said TNT/HBO Max, I think it said, which I didn't know
saw
that was a thing. I don't know if they're owned by the same
Hey, listen,
company.
it's not the CW. I'm just saying, it's not the CW.
It's not the CW, but it was good to hear. I wish I'd have recorded it because I'm interested to see what all the buzz was about. But we'll see if we appear on TNT again.
Yeah, I mean the deal for TNT is they don't have their own individual broadcast rights. They buy ESPN Plus games basically. So this game would have been on ESPN Plus had TNT not picked it up, and they did a great job with it. I mean, they did an absolutely amazing job. And remember, TNT broadcasts a lot of NBA, so they did a real good job. And the nice thing too that I loved about it was the halftime and the pregame and all of that. They weren't talking about all the other games. They were talking about our game, right? They did most of their analysis on our game. They didn't cut away to half the SEC and Big 12 and all that stuff. So, Mark, I know I saw your note from earlier. I was going to get to that again. Oops, you know what I mean? So I would definitely, I'd definitely do that again. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the Big 12 and what happened this week. Obviously, we won 45-13. Arizona State beat Texas Tech 26-22. Ugh. Good for Arizona State, but bad for Texas Tech. Obviously, their quarterback is out. We talked about that, but would have loved to maintain a top 10 team. They fall out of the top 10 this week, but remain, I think, at number 14. We'll go over those rankings here shortly. Utah and BYU in a thriller. Two ranked teams, number 15 BYU and number 23 Utah. Utah is playing a lot better. A rivalry reunion there. BYU eked it out 24-21 with a late field goal, but heck of a game there if you didn't watch it. Go back and watch it if you didn't. Cincinnati beat Oklahoma State 49-17. Holy smokes. Oklahoma State's now 1-6 and 0-4 in the Big 12. So that should be that W that we're talking about for the bowl game. Arizona lost to Houston 31-28. It was a squeaker. It was a last second field goal that Houston got to be able to win that game. And lastly, but not leastly, our next opponent, Baylor, who's 4-3, 2-2, lost to TCU 42-36. They've got out to an early lead. And then TCU really turned on the Jets and started scoring and were able to pull it back. As Mark says, that Texas Tech game, if you haven't watched it, that ending was pretty crazy. They stormed the field after Arizona State stormed the field. And then one of the fans actually threw a shoe at Lee Hunter as he was exiting the field. And how massive a human being like Lee Hunter is. He just put his arm out and pushed the guy away, and everybody was in an uproar about it. It's like, dude, you're surrounded by fans. They shouldn't be on the field. If you're going to go screw around with Lee Hunter, of all people, like, I'm sorry, there should be no penalty for him. It wasn't like he was like swinging at the guy. The headline was that he punched him. He didn't. He just put his arm out and shoved him away. So, yeah. So, the last time I saw a shoe thrown was like Bush's.
Austin Powers, baby. Yeah.
No, that's not what I was going to say. George Bush in Iraq, when he was given that speech, he got a shoe thrown at him. That was the last time I saw that. So, yeah. All right. So Big 12 now has 4 ranked teams. BYU moves to a number 11. Texas Tech at number 14. Cincinnati is ranked number 21, and ASU is now number 24. Next game after the bye, obviously, is Baylor. One thing I will mention is keep your eye on the news this week. There should be a stadium announcement coming out this week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. The other thing that you heard us talk about the Acrisure deal, I didn't really go into too much detail when we were talking about the Terry thing. On the field, if you notice, the Acrisure logo is now on the field, and that was part of that separate agreement that they were trying to work through, that there was all of that back and forth on. So more to come on that soon. All right, Mark, we're finally going to get to hoops. I promise you. As promised, there is hoops news this week. So there's a few bits of hoops news this week. So first of all, UCF or Big 12 is doing a media poll this year, which it didn't do last year in hoops. And we were asked to participate on that. So I entered our submission on our behalf. So I was excited about that. First time I'd gotten to do that. I had UCF at number 13, looking at where we're at and where the rest of the
anymore.
well, there's a lot of rebuilding going on, right, in the
Yeah.
Big 12, especially in the bottom of the Big 12. And so I had us at number 13. I'll when we get Ben back and we do the hoops preview, I'll do what I submitted, but for the poll. But that was exciting to do. There's 3 big commitments in hoops, and again, next week I'm going to have Ben go over all of them that we're in play for, that are with the likes of Duke, Kentucky. So they're all 4 stars or 5 stars. So I don't know if Repol broke out the bag for some of these recruits. We just signed a 4-star recruit or got a commitment from a 4-star recruit. So I don't know if Repol is like, all right, we're gonna push out the bag here for basketball, but we are in the top 3 of a lot of different really high level hoops players. So I'm hoping in the next week or 2 we get some commitments there. And then lastly, Mark, I'm going to get to it now. Mark made sure to remind us. So I will put this up here now. Tomorrow night. So you guys, if you're watching this tonight, you'll see it. If you watch it later, you won't. 7 p.m. tomorrow. The team flew up to Duke today. Actually, I think they flew out around 4:00. Johnny Dawkins will be back home at Duke for an exhibition game against Duke, which will be televised on ESPN at 7 p.m. It'll be interesting to see how this team performs because they're all new. So the guys that we did bring in, they're all solid. And we'll have Ben do a breakdown of the team, but it's going to be interesting to see how they do at Duke. So I think this is okay. So Mark says 11 transfers and no returning regulars, biggest, best shooting, most power conference experience ever. Yes, this team on paper looks as one of the most talented teams we've fielded so far. This is a critical year for Dawkins, must win. I asked the question in our text. I said, why is this guy signing with us right now? Because I still believe that there's no commitment to Johnny Dawkins after this year, as far as a guarantee. And usually when that happens, players don't come, but I don't know. Maybe it's hey, we'll transfer, we'll get that bag and then transfer. But from what I'm seeing from the players that came this year and the players that are in the mix for next year, I have a feeling that Repol has brought out the bag for basketball to see if we can put a winning squad out there. Now, the other thing I want to mention is, folks, we are in a big boy basketball league. Okay. We are the top basketball league. You look at the preseason polls. We don't look at preseason polls very often nationally, but almost the entire Big 12, or at least the top half, at least, is in the top 25 to start the season. This is a very, very, very good league. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see a little bit more at Duke tomorrow. So excited about that. Fall ball has started for baseball and for softball. So that's super exciting. And with that, that concludes our other UCF news. So let's go ahead and swing over to our listener love segment. You guys were vocal, which we love, absolutely love and appreciate the fact. We had some folks check in that haven't participated in a bit. I had some new folks participating as well. Bubba7 says, Gus is outdated as a play caller. I'm an ex-UCF football player. Frost is 100 times better CEO. Stop sugarcoating it. And so my response with that is agreed on the play calling. Gus was not ready for the college for today's college football. I will say that Frost is smart enough to let people around him make decisions on the CEO front. He also has a manager, a roster manager now. Gus, or GM basically. Gus did some good things, but Frost gets the heart, the strain, the culture, and understands UCF's identity. I think a lot better personally. So shout out to him. We did offer to get him on to the podcast to hang out with us. So we'll see what happens with that. Mitch Gonzalez, he's been on fire again this week. He says, that's what I call a focus win. Let's go Knights. And then Robert G says, and I think he actually responded to the Gus Malzahn question. He said, Frost and company needs to figure out how to recruit. So it's Robert G 1234. Recruit a lot better. Guys, it's going to take some time, right? One, we didn't have a full recruiting cycle. And to Alan's point, we got some pretty good transfers. So it'll be interesting to see. He's now got some tools like a general manager and a little bit more money as well. And then Mitch has a ton of these out here. He said, we have a tough one coming up. We need to focus and no excuses. We can do it. Just get through it. Tough up. We got it. And then he also says, interesting trivia, Ed Ellis was there back in 2009. Yes, Ed was there when he was there, and Trey was there as sophomore through senior year. Well, Trey did his senior year at Nebraska, so I'm not sure. And he said, man, do you know how many cookies I ate with y'all? Ha, 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 ha. Meaning, I said, LOL, Trey probably remembers them. He has a pretty good memory. And he said he's going to FaceTime with him. So I guess he worked at Nitros at the time. So he said that was the best thing at Nitros was the cookies. So shout out to Mitch. He's had a few more on there. We appreciate you, my man, for being so active. Madame Boutique, we haven't heard from her in a bit. She's a frequent commenter, and we love the fact that she is. And she always challenges us a little bit. She says, both Cam and Tay often miss open receivers. That's probably equal across the two. Our response, I think Cam's problem is he waits too long to pull the trigger, and then the window is gone. She also said, Cincy's defense was better or more directed. And by the way, I love that she puts timestamps in here so I can see exactly what was said. So thank you for that. Cincy's defense was more directed at our weaknesses than other teams we played. So Cam's PFF grade doesn't fully translate. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would put money on TJ's grade being lower than Cam's in this game. Well, that didn't happen. And if Cam's deep shots, which outnumbered maybe all of TJ's to date, weren't called back, his grade would have been much higher. Yes, he would have had a few more shots on there, and his grade would have been a little bit higher, but it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. We responded, good to hear from you again. Their defense was set up to keep us in front of them, especially in the second half. Cam missed a lot of receivers and wheel routes that were open, which TJ has been hitting. So I think, and it showed this week that he's fully capable. And she also said Cam has a much better deep ball, better escapability, and faster than TJ. Faster, yes. Deep ball, no, in my opinion. And I'm open to hearing you guys say that. What do you guys think? Who has the better deep ball?
Man, they're both pretty good, but I think TJ is starting to get it in positions where most people can throw it. But again, we have to check out the defenses, right? Where we see that against UNC, we see that against West Virginia, who has pretty beaten up squad, but he was throwing it all over the field, on Saturday. So equally against bad competition. I don't know, because we didn't really see Cam against bad competition because he got beat up, round one. So I don't know if we can answer that question yet. Although I think it's TJ.
Mark, I think, puts a nail in this coffin. Taven has 5 TD passes. Cam has none. The big thing with Cam, he has good mid-range passes, but his deep balls are all short. I don't think he has the arm strength, nor can he get the ball out as quickly as what Taven can. So I would argue for the long ball, which is what you were talking about, Madame Boutique, that I think that he, and I'd love to know what your actual name is. So,
yes,
but,
Madame.
Yeah.
It's just Madame. It's fine.
Yeah, maybe I'll just go with Madame. So when it comes to that, I do think that TJ has a more accurate and better long ball. Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that TJ has I think TJ is a better overall quarterback, and we've played so much more fluidly under him, smoother to his point, 5 touchdowns versus 0. I think Cam is probably the overall better runner. I mean, as we saw with
he absolutely is.
Yeah, with 108 yards last week and made so many plays happen with his feet because the play broke down and there was nothing. The receivers were not getting open, but Taven Jackson just feels like the better overall quarterback. And yeah, I think the deep ball is better. It's not perfect. We've seen, some overthrows here and there, but Cam hasn't shown me much at all with his long ball. I know, to Josh's point, it's been a small sample. Like, he played a little bit of the first game, and then he played a little bit against Kansas, and then one full game. But there's no question this offense runs better under Taven Jackson, and his long ball is better. And he's still really good at creating, as you saw in those 4th down plays where he's kind of scrambling, and he made some tough throws. I think it was off one foot, that one of those touchdowns of Dahmer. So yeah, I think it's Taven Jackson.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think that, Cam just doesn't have the arm strength. I think he waits too long also to get the ball out, which closes some windows for him too. That's the other problem. And Taven has off and on done that throughout the season as well. Luke Bart, 920, West Virginia fan here. Should be a good game. Shout out to you, Luke. Thanks for commenting and viewing. Kevin-W5D1S. Better take advantage. This is your best chance in the career of your school to beat West Virginia. And my response was, considering you guys left the Big East before we got there, sure, we've had a lot of volatility the past 2 years, but we will do what we always do long term. So yeah, I think we did. So shout out to Kevin for commenting in, and we took advantage. So Deborah, I'm sorry, Rajales, 3766. She gave us her score prediction. Econ Advisor, haven't seen him in a bit. Thank you for checking in. He said 7 horrible ref decisions or UCF wins. Homer refs let Knights receivers be mugged. And then last but not least, Tony 7913114. Thanks so much. He hit me up with some private comments. He's been a long time listener / viewer back to the Nightline days. Asked when if we were going to do another show, and we did, and he's still continuing to follow along and give us feedback. So shout out to him. New subs. We had several new subs this week. The only one that I can shout out, though, is Dustin Vandenberg, because you're the only one who allows me to see your name. The rest of you have it private, so I can't shout you out, but thank you. As a reminder, please like and subscribe and follow. Tell your friends. Again, we don't monetize this channel, but it does help us with the reach. So make sure, if you like what we're doing and what we're talking, make sure you share it with your friends. We appreciate all of you. All right. With all that being said, Alan, I don't have anything in here, but do you have Alan's Oxymoronic stat of the week this week?
I do have an Oxymoronic stat of the week. Nothing crazy, just kind of, is anytime I think you beat an opponent for the first time, it's noteworthy. You got like scoregamis for new scores, but you also got, the version of that where you beat a new opponent. So I thought this was interesting. Every year since 2017, outside the one, year that we didn't do this is 2022, we have beaten a new opponent. So this year we beat UNC for the first time. I mean, it's the only time we ever played them, but the first time we ever beat them, and we beat West Virginia.
Thank you, Hurricanes.
Thank you, Hurricanes. Last year we beat TCU in Arizona for the first time. 2023 we beat Oklahoma State for the first time. 21 was Boise in Florida. 2020 Georgia Tech. 2019 Stanford. 2018 Pitt, and 2017 Maryland and Auburn. So almost two new first time program victories, and this year we get another 2. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That was cool. Yeah, that's that but it also goes to show you, I mean, we move conferences all the time, and we try to get the power schools and all of that other stuff on our schedule when we were the AAC. And to Mark's point, and both new wins were power conference teams, and we got one more win versus the ACC than FSU does. So just putting that in there. Salt, throwing a little salt.
Oh, man.
All right, Josh, let's go ahead and swing it over to you and your sometimes funny fact of the week. Take it away, Josh.
So as most UCF fans know, we've had an undefeated season and we had an offer. Did Baylor ever have one of each type of season?
Baylor.
I don't think they've had an undefeated season.
I don't think they've had an undefeated season. Yeah, I'm gonna go with no.
I mean, we're including post game, right? Because the year we beat them in the Fiesta Bowl, okay,
yes,
yeah, I don't think they've had an undefeated season.
I'm gonna go with they haven't either. Yeah.
And have they had an offer season? Yes or no?
I'm gonna go with yes.
I don't know, because they've been playing football a really long time, so I don't know my Baylor history that far back. So I'm gonna go with no as well.
I'm gonna say they did. They have had an offer.
The answer is. Okay. It's kind of weird because if you look at sportsreference.com, another great website, it says that they have had an undefeated season. And then if you go into the notes, oh no. How the entire is it better now? I am on a 5G connection. I'm getting all new internet. Is it bad? Keep going. Okay, keep going. All right, so we are at 1910 as an independent. Baylor was 6-0-2, but the record was adjusted to 6-1-1, and they had a Texas game that was forfeited as a tie that became a loss. So don't ask me how. It was a long time ago. So by record, no, they've never had an undefeated season. They, total throughout the complete season. They had one offer season in 1969 as part of the Southwest Conference, where they were 0-10-0. And how bad was it? They had 9 total touchdowns for the entire season.
Wow.
9. The running back had 4. Their QB had 3. And 2 wide receivers had 1 touchdown each.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad.
Well, I don't know, Josh, I don't know if you want me to do the next segment for you, because you're about 3 seconds behind and you're robotic as heck. So I don't know if you want me to do the last segment. Normally it's you, but what do you think?
No, I'm going to do it. I see you clear. Is it better now? Because I'm shut down everything.
You're still a little bit on a delay. Okay, I'm going to let you roll with it. All right. Next on the list, we have a quick update on other UCF sports that Alan doesn't watch, Trey doesn't watch, and Andrew might not watch. So there you go.
All right. So the UCF women's soccer team is now 9-2-4 with 6 straight non-losses, if you will, wins or ties on the season. They beat OSU like everyone has in Stillwater, but yeah, it's usually football. And they tied Houston at Houston 1-1. So the next one up is a big one. It's against the Fighting Joanna Gaines as number 10 Baylor comes into town on Thursday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. Also, right before the podcast next week, on Monday, October 27th, is another home game at 1 p.m. versus BYU. Men's soccer is 5-2. We see the wins and the ties starting to roll up after beating Bradley 5-1 at home and pulling a draw versus JMU at James Madison University. The only game this week is a road game in the ATL as the Knights play Georgia State at 4 p.m. on Sunday, October 26th. UCF volleyball is 11-7 after losing to Arizona 1-3 at home. We have 2 games this week at Houston on October 22nd. That's Wednesday at 8 p.m. and at home versus the Flying Tortillas of Texas Tech on Saturday, October 25th at 1 p.m. Women's tennis, they finished the ITA Southeast Regionals with both the teams making it to the quarterfinal round and the singles doing as good as they could. Came up against some Georgia teams who are really, really good, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. There's more tennis in November to come, which is interesting because now I'm on a live read, and and we're getting some updated information while in the live read. UCF volleyball is projected as 11th seed in the NCAA tournament, so that's good to have there as well. UCF cross country team closed out the regular season strong. They had 8 of 9 nights competing in their latest tournament, finishing in the top 100 with tons of personal records abound, including a top 10 finish. We have next up the Big 12 Championship that's starting on Halloween in Lawrence, Kansas. The women's golf team plays in the Landfall Edition in Wilmington, North Carolina. That's coming up this Friday through Sunday. Men's golf is going to start playing at the FAU Invitational next Monday. So that'll be on the 27th. So we won't have too many updates there. Maybe the first round for the pod next week. We talked about softball and baseball having some of their fall ball. Softball is playing on Friday, October 24th at 5 p.m. at home versus Florida Tech. Rowing also will be at the Miami scrimmage on Sunday, October 26th. We have a lot of things ending and closing up as we get towards the holidays. We'll give you all that information as we see it and get it here on the Knighted Ones. Back to you, Roger.
All right. So half of that was robot. So hopefully our our viewers should understand it.
I swear, I don't understand it. Better next week. I should have my Wi-Fi fixed. But I'm on 5G.
Okay. Well, clearly your computer is not. The network might be 5G, but the computer is not. All right. So that being said,
32 gigs.
This was a lot
32
more.
32 gigs of RAM in this thing.
Okay. So there was a lot more excitement this week. I'm from all of us. I mean, it's always a win is better than a loss, right? So I'm excited about that. Lots to take away from football this week. And I do think, and I want to end it with this, I do think this is a bowl eligible team. I think the offense took enough steps going this week that we will absolutely be a bowl eligible team with 6 wins, not 5, Alan. I'm hoping that you guys continue to tune in. Please like, subscribe, follow, comment. We love it when you comment. Obviously, we highlight you on the show. For our regulars, Mark and everybody, we appreciate you so much. Have a great week, Knight Nation. We got the bye week, so take football off and watch some of the rest of the teams. Go Knights and
charge on.
All right. Well, you weren't late on that one for some reason. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I don't understand this. It was fine the entire time until I actually needed talk. And then you're going to